The iron chains bit deep into his wrists, grinding against raw flesh as he hung suspended from the thick oak post driven into the center of the warlord's tent. Every shallow breath sent fire lancing through his cracked ribs, and the metallic taste of blood coated his tongue from the split lip that still wept crimson. Torchlight danced wildly across the stretched hides of the massive pavilion, casting grotesque shadows that twisted like living things along the walls. The air was a choking haze of wood smoke, spilled ale, sweat-soaked leather, and the sharp copper reek of fresh death. Outside, the distant roar of orc victory chants mingled with the agonized screams of the few human prisoners who had not yet been silenced. Grushka, the butcher of Blackfang Pass, the orc warlord whose name made hardened warriors piss themselves in the night, stood before him like a monument to savagery. She was enormous, easily 7 feet of corded green muscle layered with battle scars that told stories of 100 massacres. Her heavy tusks curved upward from a powerful jaw, one of them chipped from the axe blow that had felled the last human king foolish enough to challenge her. Sweat glistened on her bare shoulders and the swell of her chest beneath a crude iron breastplate etched with runes of carnage. In one massive hand, her great axe still dripped thick ropes of blood onto the packed earth floor, blood that belonged to his brothers in arms only minutes earlier. She had personally dragged him from the battlefield, laughing as she tossed his broken body over her shoulder like a hunted deer. Now her yellow eyes, glowing with predatory hunger, bored into him. She expected the usual. They always begged. Humans were soft. Fragile. When faced with the inevitable, they wept and offered anything. Gold, loyalty, their own mothers, just to taste a few more breaths. Grushka stepped closer, the ground trembling faintly under her boots. Her calloused fingers seized his jaw in a vice-like grip, forcing his head up. The pressure made his vision spark with white agony, but he refused to cry out. "On your knees, worm," she snarled, her voice a guttural thunder that vibrated through his bones. Hot breath washed over his face, carrying the scent of raw meat and iron. "Beg for your miserable life. Plead like the pathetic sack of meat you are, and maybe, I'll grant you a quick death instead of skinning you slow and feeding your pieces to the dire wolves while you watch." Her grip tightened, nails digging into his cheeks until fresh blood trickled down his neck. She leaned in, tusks inches from his eyes, savoring the moment. This was her favorite part, the breaking. The moment when proud warriors dissolved into sobbing animals. But the man, Elias Thorne, captain of the fallen Silver Company, did not tremble. His hazel eyes, clouded with pain yet strangely clear, locked onto hers without flinching. Something cold and calculating burned behind them, a defiance that refused to bend even as his body screamed for mercy. Memories flashed through his mind in that suspended heartbeat. The screams of his men as orc blades tore through them, the burning village they had failed to protect, the promise he had made to his dying lieutenant to make their sacrifice mean something. Not through futile resistance here, but through something sharper. Something that would cut deeper than any axe. He drew a ragged breath, ignoring the lance of pain in his side, and spoke in a voice hoarse but steady, each word deliberate. "Where do you keep your tools?" The question hung in the smoky air like a dagger thrown into silence. Grushka's grip faltered for the briefest instant. Her heavy brows furrowed, confusion ripping across her brutal features like a crack in armor. She had expected sobs, offers of gold, desperate prayers to weak human gods. Not this. Not a calm, almost curious inquiry about tools. "What?" she growled, shoving his face back hard enough that his head cracked against the post. Stars exploded behind his eyes, but he held her gaze. "Your tools," Elias repeated, blood bubbling at the corner of his mouth. "The ones you use for the real work. Not that clumsy axe. The small ones. The precise ones. Where do you keep them?" Grushka released his jaw and stepped back, her massive chest heaving. A low, dangerous chuckle escaped her at first, but it died quickly, strangled by the unnatural calm radiating from the chained human. She circled him slowly, the chains rattling as she tested their hold, her eyes never leaving his face. The torch flames reflected in her yellow irises, turning them into slits of molten gold. "You've lost your mind from the beating," she rumbled, but there was a new edge to her voice, uncertainty, the first tremor of something she hadn't felt in years. "You should be pissing yourself. Begging me to end it. Instead you ask about tools like a fucking blacksmith." Elias managed a faint, bloody smile that sent a shiver through even her hardened nerves. "I'm not here to beg, warlord. I'm here to learn. And then, to use." The words were soft, but they landed like hammer blows. Grushka stopped circling. Her hand drifted to the hilt of a wicked skinning knife at her belt, fingers twitching. Outside, the victory drums pounded like a heartbeat, but inside the tent, time seemed to stretch and thicken. She could feel the shift, the power tilting in ways she didn't understand. This human was supposed to be prey. Yet his steady stare made her feel exposed, as if he were peeling back her layers instead. She grabbed a fistful of his blood-matted hair and yanked his head back, exposing his throat. "You dare toy with me? I have gutted stronger men for less. I will carve your tongue out and make you swallow it." "Do it," Elias whispered, his voice barely audible yet piercing. "But first tell me, where are the tools? The needles? The hooks? The fine blades you use when you want information rather than just death? I need to know their exact location. Their condition. How sharp." Grushka's breath hitched. For the first time in her brutal life, she felt a flicker of genuine unease. This was no broken soldier. This was something else, something that looked at torture not as an end, but as a beginning. She released his hair and slammed her fist into his gut, driving the air from his lungs. He gasped, body convulsing against the chains, but when he lifted his head again, that same unnerving calm remained. "Why?" she demanded, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. She leaned in close again, her face inches from his. "Why ask this? You think knowing will save you? You think you'll escape and come for me?" Elias coughed, spitting blood onto the dirt between them. "No. I won't escape tonight. I know that. But when you start, when you begin your work on me, I want to be ready. I want to watch how you do it. Study it. Because one day, Grushka, those same tools will be in different hands." The implication settled between them like poison. Her yellow eyes widened fractionally. She searched his face for fear, for madness, for any crack she could exploit. There was pain, plenty of it. His body was a ruin of bruises and gashes. Yet his will remained forged iron. It terrified her in a way no army ever had. She could crush skulls and topple kingdoms, but this quiet, broken man was looking at her as if she were the one about to be dissected. A long, tense silence stretched. The torches sputtered. Distant orc laughter filtered in, oblivious to the strange duel unfolding in the warlord's tent. Grushka's hand hovered near her axe, then moved instead to a locked chest in the corner of the tent. She hesitated, then kicked it open with a savage boot. Inside gleamed an array of cruel instruments. Thin blades, bone saws, hooked probes, iron vices, needles thick as quills. Tools for breaking minds as well as bodies. "These," she snarled, snatching a wickedly curved hook and holding it up to the light. "You want these, little man? You want me to start with them?" Elias's eyes traced the hook with clinical interest, memorizing its shape, its weight in her hand. "Yes. That one first. How do you angle it under the ribs to maximize pain without killing too quickly? Show me." Grushka's roar shook the tent poles. She stormed forward and pressed the cold metal against his collarbone, just enough to draw a thin line of blood. Her breath came fast now, rage and something dangerously close to fascination warring inside her. She had broken hundreds. None had ever invited the breaking like this. None had turned her own cruelty into a lesson they intended to learn and later teach. "You're insane," she hissed, but her voice lacked its earlier confidence. The hook trembled slightly in her powerful grip. "Perhaps," Elias replied, his voice growing stronger despite the pain. "Or perhaps I'm the first human who truly sees you, Grushka. Not as a monster to fear, but as a craftsman with skills I mean to master. So tell me, exactly where do you keep the rest? The poisons? The restraints? Every detail." She pressed the hook deeper, watching his face for the scream that had to come. But Elias only breathed through it, eyes locked on hers, cataloging her technique, her micro-expressions, the way her muscles flexed. The suspense thickened until the air felt ready to snap. Grushka could end him in seconds, yet she held back, caught in the web of his unnerving question. For the first time, the warlord wondered if she had captured not a prisoner, but a predator wearing human skin. The hook bit deeper. His blood flowed. And still, he waited for her answer, the promise of future violence burning brighter than any immediate agony. The night stretched long and merciless around them, the tent becoming an arena where roles had quietly, terrifyingly reversed.